Hi, all. Welcome to DevOps Interview Preparation Guide. So, from this session, we'll talk about Linux interview questions, and also we'll try to cover more of the real-time scenario-based questions, so that how we can answer them in the interviews. So, the first scenario is you are unable to SSH into the Linux server. What steps would you take to troubleshoot this? This is the basic question most of the interviews will have. 99% of the interviewers will ask when they are asking about your Linux questions. And also remember that this is also helps Linux administrators who are going for the Linux interviews only, and also it will help people who are into the DevOps with the Linux skills. And also it's very important, it's very mandatory that whoever are into the DevOps, they need to know the Linux. So answer would be like you could confirm the SSH service is running on the server. The server is up and accessible over the network. The SSH port is not blocked by a firewall, and the SSH configuration file is properly set up. You could also look at the server's logs for any SSH related errors. So every time when we log in, the first thing when we are unable to connect to the Linux server, what we'll do is ping, right? So you need to ping the server and you need to check whether it is running and also whether it is accessible through your network. Then the next thing comes about your port. SSH is will be running on port 22, and also most of the organizations will change this port as per their requirement. It's not mandatory that 22 has to be the SSH port. You can change that port, totally depends on your company's requirement, but you need to make sure that that port is accessible and it's not blocked through the internet. So if the server is up and network accessible, you should see replies with the time it took to get the reply. If you see something like request timed out or destination host unreachable, there could be the network issues. So this is what happens. And also, how will you check whether this service is running or not? You will check with something called systemctl status SSH. Okay, systemctl status SSH. You need to have sudo access. So as a DevOps engineer, we are not going to have the root access, and also most of us, like most of the organizations right now, also not providing sudo access unless it is very much required. Okay, so how will you check the SSH status? If you have sudo access, you can check the service whether it is running or not. If it is not running, you can start, and also you can enable the SSH, as whenever you enable the SSH, it will start while you boot the server. But it's very important that what happens if you do not have the access, because most of the interviewers will ask that question as well. If you do not have sudo access, what is the action you are going to do? The simple thing is you need to raise an incident or a ticket to the Linux administrator, so that they will go and check what exactly is happening. But the initial troubleshooting will be done by us as DevOps engineers or the application owners. We need to go and check the connectivity. So the next thing is to check the port open or not. You can check with telnet your IP with 22. So telnet will let you know like whether that port is open or not. But most of the time when you are working on in the cloud environments, it might be AWS, it might be Azure, it might be GCP. Most of the time the ping and telnet will be disabled. Okay, so what you can do in this case, how you can check like whether the server is up or not? Definitely, like you need to go and see your Linux administrator. You need to raise a ticket if you do not have access to check the ping and also to check the port number. You need to check the firewall rules, and this is exclusively been done by the Linux administrator, because the firewall, like whenever you are working as a DevOps engineer, you might have or you might not have access to the firewall rules. Like you can allow SSH or you can allow any port or you can deny any port. Until unless you do not have sudo access, you cannot do that. But if you want some port number to be allowed, again you need to raise the tickets to your Linux administrator. But coming to the interview point of view, you need to mention all these points, whether you are a Linux administrator or a DevOps administrator or a DevOps engineer. You have to make these all points, like you need to give all these points to the interviewer, so that he will be knowing that you are an expert in the Linux uh, operating system as well. So then again, like you need to check SSH configuration. You can go and check etc SSH SSHD config, and you need to check for your port number, and you need to check the permit root login is there or not, and also password authentication. There are a lot of categories you need to check, and if you have done any changes for that, you need to restart your SSH. And also check for the logs. This is a major important thing when you are troubleshooting anything. Go and check var logs auth.log and see what exactly, like what entries you are seeing in the SSH logs. Okay, so this is the first scenario of the Linux interview question, that is while you are unable to SSH, what are the actions you will be taking. So you need to point out all the points which I have mentioned, so that it will be easy for you to, like, you will be in a comfortable position when you are doing the interviews, so that the interviewer will be very much impressed with your answers. So next scenario is your Linux server is running slower than usual. What steps can you take to identify and resolve the issue? So as a DevOps engineer, this might come when you are running your application on the Linux server, and also Linux administrator will definitely face these issues regularly. But as a DevOps engineer, why I need to check? Because my application is hosted on one of these servers. So definitely if I'm seeing that my application is running very slowly and it's not working as expected, then definitely, like, what steps you need to take will be the question. So you need to start examining the CPU usage with the top command. So htop atop will work in few of the operating systems, will not work in few of the operating systems, but top command will definitely work in all the operating systems, Red Hat, Debian. Okay, so you can go with the top command. Then check the IO operations and memory usage. Look for swapping, which could significantly reduce your performance, and also check the system logs with var log to identify any software and hardware errors. Okay, so this is a simple answer that you can provide to the interviewer, that you can check the CPU usage and memory usage, and also you can go and check the logs, like what exactly is happening. When they say like how you check the CPU usage and your memory usage, you can go and check that. You can go with the top command and the free command. So next question is, an application is unable to write to a file on the Linux server. How would you diagnose the problem? So most of the time you will see this when you are working in the real-time organizations, or whenever you are working in the real time. So if you are having a very good experience, for example, you already having 6 to 7 years of experience, you might see this as a simple question. But if someone is having only 1 or 2 years of experience, or if they are totally new to the organizations or freshers, then this is the question, like they might not get, like this might not strike immediately. Okay, so whenever you say like unable to write to a file on the Linux server, definitely you need to check the permissions on the file to ensure that application has the right access. Until unless you do not have the right access, you cannot do anything on that file. So you might also need to check if the file is logged by other process, or if the file system is read only due to disk issues. So these are the scenarios you need to pitch in, or these are the answers you need to pitch in. So next scenario is, you have been tasked with automating an application checking task that needs to be run at a specific time every day. How would you achieve this on the Linux server? This is a regular question that been asked in the DevOps interviews and also in the Linux interviews. Like, how will you automate an application task with respect to the time, or how will you schedule your application automations? So how will you do that? You can do that using something called cron jobs or cron daemon in Linux. So by editing the cron tab file, you can specify the exact time for the script to be executed. So if you see here, if you see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. So first star is for your minutes, next star is for hours, day of month, fourth star is for month, fifth star is for day of week. So if I want to run a job every day midnight 12 a.m, so it will be like this. Okay, so 0 0 star star star, and whatever the thing like you wanted to do. Like for example, here I'm just running a backup script. Okay, so it will just do the backup every midnight 12 a.m. So this is how you can do this scheduling in the Linux. Okay, so we'll continue the next session and we'll see more Linux interview based scenario questions.